Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final day of the 12 days of film. I've reviewed 11 other movies leading up to this one, and what I want to talk about is my second favorite film from this year, number one being Across the Spider-Verse, because of course. But I want to talk about that film on another day. Today, I want to talk about another film titled Talk to Me. Very rarely is there a horror film banger that slips into my top 10 like this one does. My top 5 even. And even rarer is a film directed by YouTubers that has as much respect as this movie does. It's kind of weird to touch on that real quick. Like, YouTubers are such a part of mainstream culture nowadays, and for a long time there were such separate categories between the entertainment industry and the YouTube community, and now it feels like not just YouTubers but online creators and the entertainment industry is so intermixed nowadays that it's not even worth distinguishing a lot of times, because one is obviously indicative of the other. So often there's so much talent on both sides that they might as well coexist. But side ramble over. This film follows a group of teenagers who are all pretty interconnected. There's a sister and her younger brother and their friends, and they're all really tight. And they go to this party, and someone brings like this mummified like hand. It looks just like this, and it has like all of these weird writings on top of it. It's spooky, but it's some dumb shit I could see someone actually doing, and they're like, yeah, if you just grab onto this and say, talk to me, you become possessed. And it actually works. If you actually perform this little ritual, you become possessed. And instead of, you know, throwing this hand into the bottom of the ocean, these dumb teenagers do exactly what dumb teenagers do, and they fuck around until they find out. And you know it's gonna happen sooner or later. You know messing with spirits is slowly but surely gonna end the wrong way, but it does so in such a smart way. One of the characters, played by Sophie Wilde, is the first film I've seen her in. She was amazing. Like, I almost want to say Oscar, like, not that the Oscars would acknowledge this film. I'd be surprised if they did, but should be Oscar nominated worthy performance here, where she lost her mother and wants to talk to her through these spirits, so it becomes a very real thing when this party game becomes an ulterior motive for her. And this movie does not hold back, and it is so expertly constructed. Like, nothing other than like maybe Jordan Peele films in terms of horror have captured me this way in a very long time. My favorite feeling walking out of this, my favorite feeling in these movies is when like I'm looking over my shoulder a little bit more, you know, it's dark and I'm like a little anxious. That like anxious feeling. And not only that, you're actually thinking about like, what did this mean in the film? What are they doing with this? What did the character mean when they said this? If you can deliver those two feelings, that anxiousness, but also get like my brain rattling with what the film is trying to say, that is a sweet, sweet mixture. And I was gassing up Sophie Wilde, but the rest of the cast is great too. They're dumb teenagers. Like, I want to get that across, but they feel very real. A lot of the times you make that distinction where you're yelling at them. You're like, why? Get out of the goddamn basement. You're yelling at them in horror movies as you do. But the characters in this film, I actually felt very genuine. And when they make the dumb decisions, as they kind of need to, as long as they get across that feeling of like, oh, well, if I knew this person in real life, they would do that, then it's well deserved. And that helps because like the relationships in this movie feel very messy and real. You know, you meet people who have like weird friendships, and especially in high school, this person's dating this random person, but now they're friends. Like, it's all fucked, right? And that's how it is in this movie. Like, characters have weird dynamics and like weird little social cues that you can pick up on, weird little comments, and those are what make relationships feel real, and this film had that. I also love these films because I love movies where I can like hype it up to a buddy, where I'm like, oh, you gotta watch that movie, or I'm on YouTube watching like the theory videos about it. Like, movies that can do that are like the ones that stick with you. And I want to talk a little bit about like the 12 days of film thing I'm doing here. I purposely am trying to avoid the movies I want to save for bigger videos, or it might be like a big analytical piece down the line. I used to review every movie I watched, and since I'm not really doing that anymore, I was able to kind of take a nice chunk of movies from the year that I watched and talk about them. Films I know I'm probably not going to talk about, but Talk to Me is one, even despite that I'm doing this, I hope I can still talk about down the line, because it is a film that really hit me and a film I do really want to talk about. But I wanted to end the 12 days of film on a bigger note. Just know that films like this deserve more than these shitty little videos I do here. This film deserves a bigger conversation. It's not like a perfect movie. There's a scene where someone's licking someone's toes. Like, that scene did not land. There's a couple moments in this film that are spotty. I will admit that. But otherwise, it is a almost perfectly executed horror movie. And all the respect to a group of YouTubers who accomplished something I could only dream of doing, making a film as awesome as this. And, you know, you expect people to make like a super generic horror film if they're just making it for their first time, but these guys did some pretty crazy, and all the respect to them. I'm going to have Talk to Me a solid 9 out of 10. Like I said, it's my second favorite film of the year, and I believe that's it. That's all I got for the 12 days of film. I hope you guys enjoyed my little mini review series we did here. If you're watching this on the main channel, I appreciate you watching all the way through. If you're watching these daily on the second channel, I appreciate that as well. I wouldn't mind this being like a fun little tradition I do every year, because I do want to talk about just about everything I experience, but I also want to have a nuanced conversation, you know, say things that other people haven't said a million times about movies already. But by breaking up into a fun little series like this, I'm able to itch that back, but also doing like a fun format for you guys that hopefully some of you guys enjoyed. Or maybe there's someone out here who just enjoys hearing me talk about movies, and hopefully I satisfied your guys' itch. In the comments, I would love to hear your thoughts about Talk to Me or any of the other 11 movies I've talked about throughout this series. I'm gonna have a little outro at the end of this, but as for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.